Hello, I'm Dr. Inman. Most of you know me. I'm the frequency-specific low-level laser therapy author and originator, and I'm the laser guy, essentially. This is a short video on rehabilitation of joints that are injured, essentially, the idiopathology, and also some updates that we've found that make the response much faster and much more effectively. When a joint basically is damaged, essentially, like the stifle or a knee, for instance, what happens is because of anatomical change or injury, essentially, the breakdown of the cartilage, the hyaline cartilage of the actual joint, incurs a number of different progressions of changes in the joint, osteoarthritis, etc., etc. But one of the first things happens is to break down the hyaline cartilage, which is nice, spongy, ultra slippery cartilage that covers the surface and allows the synovial cells, synovial material, to make it slippery and decrease friction, and that's fine. When the body basically replaces that, due to the fact that it's worn out, and joints will wear out basically due to injury and also due to time and pressure necrosis, etc., etc., it's replaced by fiber cartilage, which is interesting. Now, fiber cartilage, when we open up the joint, is just about as slippery. It works just about as well. It also has a little bit more pain input into that cartilage, so sometimes those responses to the body produces a bit of a painful knee, but basically gives these animals and people back a relatively effective joint if we can regenerate the fiber cartilage. Last month, my beloved daughter broke her radial head, essentially doing a aerial dance move, essentially, and she had to compete a week later. So instead of casting her, what we did was we applied the laser to her actual injury, and she had a fractured radial head. And we found that we used I pulled out the stops and used the fracture non-union protocol on her to try to get her back into production, because back into competition within 7 days. And 7 days later, she was pain-free and able to dance and compete, and won, essentially, which was about 3 to 5 weeks faster than she should have. And then we started to really look very carefully at the fracture non-union protocol that we have in here, and we realized that when we use that particular protocol, it has a number of different frequencies that address the body's toward healing this condition a lot faster than just the basic pain subset joint protocol that we use. So a lot of times we'll recommend that you use pain subset joint for just about any joint problem in the body, and it's good at inducing healing, essentially, and reducing pain. But when we use the pain subset or the fracture non-union, essentially, we found out that the inflammatory pockets and also the scar tissue that keeps the body from addressing that healing is actually bypassed, and the animal heals much faster. We've applied that to chronic conditions in the shoulder of the human, the knee of the human being, also in the stifle, anterior cruciate ligaments of the canine, and other problems. And so here's the point of this video. For conditions involving joints, we very commonly use the fracture non-union protocol, essentially. And what happens is we'll end up lasering that for 60 seconds. Very commonly, we'll throw that in on top of other things that we'll try to use for the knee or for the shoulder, etc., etc., for any kind of joint, even the spine. And we find out that the response is much higher. Now, it's because of the added amount of frequencies that are in fracture non-union that it actually is more effective. And I'll have to tell you that in the new iterations of the frequencies that'll be deposited into these devices, essentially, we'll have the updated and improved versions of this, so it won't be so confusing. But for the time being, we'd recommend that you consider using fracture non-union as a protocol for just about any joint problem, particularly chronic and non-responsive joint problems. And of course, we use it for fracture non-union, of course. So in the future, this will be actually included in most of the joint-related protocols that are in the LZ30-z device program with my 1800 plus protocols. I would mention to you a problem that we've found out is that people find that your care of this particular use of this device is fascinating, and they basically look for an LZ30-z laser online and find one on Amazon, or they find one on the internet, and they order it, and they find out that it comes to them, actually comes to them cheaper than the one that will sell them, but it comes to them without any protocols whatsoever. And then they contact me and they want me to update their device to the protocols. Due to a non-disclosure agreement, that can't be done. So they have to basically either hold on to a laser that's an effective light pointer, essentially, just an expensive light pointer, or they have to send it back, pay a 15% restocking fee, and then order mine. The Avant people will sell this device to anyone who will order it because of its safety, essentially, and we will support anyone who orders this device through me. About 25% of all the lasers that we have sent home have been sent home to people who are non-doctors and are using them for their animals, or they're using them for themselves, etc., etc. And we don't have any problem with that. There's no liability involved there. So if you have a client that is interested in this technology, have them contact me at 208-640-3430, 208-640-3430, and we can provide this technology to them, for them. They pay the same thing that the doctors pay for it, but we supply them with support too for their application. Thank you for taking the time to look at this video. Remember, fracture non-union is going to be one that you're going to want to investigate and use for chronic conditions involving just about any joint. Thank you. Have a great day.